You're listening to Count Richard von Coudenhove, Kalergi. Today is the 12th of August, and here's a couple of comments since my last video. And I'll start, unfortunately, with that canary in the coal mine, Sweden. A Muslim bus driver in Stockholm refused to let a woman board the bus as he and two others began praying inside the vehicle. The incident took place last weekend when the woman began knocking on the door. She was ignored and left standing in the rain. And upon entering the bus, the driver became aggressive because she disturbed him during his prayers. Feeling uncomfortable about riding on the bus, she called a friend who picked her up. This is the second incident involving women on public transport in Sweden in less than 2 weeks. Does this look like a simulation? Swedish police in the city of Uppsala, 40 miles north of Stockholm, a university city of 170,000 people, have warned women walking alone at night to avoid certain areas entirely after the city saw 4 sex attacks in 4 days, with 2 of them being rapes and 2 attempted rapes by random persons. According to Swedish National Council for Crime Prevention, rapes increased by 8% last year and 33% over 10 years. And according to the Swedish broadcaster SVT, the vast majority of rape cases involving strangers are committed by migrants, making up 85% of all cases, where the victim and rapist are not known to each other. This doesn't even take into account the so-called New Swedes. This is a country dominated by a mostly female government, and it has one of the worst rape problems in the Western world, yet they refuse to look at the problem straight in the eye and continue to vote for more of the same. I'm reminded of a quote from Daniel Greenfield, a journalist at the David Horowitz Centre, who says, quote, "You cannot coexist with people who refuse to coexist with you." And still in Sweden, the Justice Minister has criticised a Polish member of the European Parliament for suggesting that Swedes were fleeing Poland due to mass migration. After the Polish MP said assassinations, increased crime, rape, fear and Sharia zones, these are the consequences of multiculturalism that Swedes are fleeing their country to find peace and normality in Poland, with the Swedish Justice Minister saying, quote, "The problem is not Swedes going to Poland, but rather Polish criminals coming to Sweden." This is an ongoing phenomenon, with record numbers of Swedes leaving, to the extent that more Swedes continue to leave Sweden than at any other time in the last 160 years. Between 1850 and 1930, due to high unemployment and crop failures, roughly 50,000 people left per year. But since 2015, the numbers have exceeded 50,000, anywhere between 50 and 55,000 per year. And despite the numbers of people fleeing Sweden, the population continues to rise. The great European population replacement continues in full swing. In Denmark, the tax authority office in Oosterbro was bombed in Copenhagen, with one witness comparing it to 2 trains slamming into each other, in an attack which the police say was deliberate rather than by accident. The attack took place on Tuesday night and left 1 injured and 2 cleaners in the building with a very lucky escape. A total of 39 cases of people have been fined in the course of the year since Denmark imposed its much debated burqa ban last year. The ban was imposed last August with a fine of 1,000 Danish kroner for the first time offence of wearing the burqa and the niqab. It is estimated that the number of veiled women in Denmark does not exceed 200, around half of whom are converts. Islam is the largest minority religion, and according to the 2018 estimates, there are over 300,000 people, or 5% of the population. And on Saturday, in the early hours of the morning, a police station was damaged in Copenhagen by an explosion. A large police operation is under investigation to see if there is any connection between the 2 explosions. In Austria, 5 asylum seekers aged between 17 and 22 have been convicted in a court for raping a 13-year-old girl who they met in the central railway station in Graz, lured to an apartment where they gave her alcohol and drugs before making her undress, and became very aggressive and violent towards her and began to take turns to rape her. The entire ordeal was filmed by one of the migrants, 2 of which had previous drug offences, on his phone. which was later discovered by the police. All of the rapists were sentenced to several years, with one getting 7 years for the last October attack. In Italy, the film actor Richard Gere, aged 69, has hired a boat to deliver food and water to the Spanish NGO-operated vessel Open Arms, which has 160 migrants on board, and has been denied access to the Italian and Maltese ports, and is currently, as of 2 p.m. today, off Lampedusa. The standoff between the NGOs and the Italian government continues, with Matteo Salvini pushing through Parliament a law which will fine NGO-operated boats up to €1 million if they take migrants to Italy without authorisation, and will allow for the arrest of ships' captains, which has been done already with the arrest of the 2 German NGO-sponsored captains, but will also demand the confiscation of the vessel. Salvini also said to Mr. Gere, quote, "Given that this generous millionaire is voicing concerns for the fate of the Open Arms, we thank him. We can take back to Hollywood on his private plane all the people on board and support them in his villas. Thank you, Richard." Mr. Gere, who was an avid supporter of the Free Tibet campaign and the Dalai Lama, even though the Dalai Lama has said that Europe should be for the Europeans, and throughout his long film career has amassed a personal wealth over $100 million and lives in a mansion worth around $50 million, has a penthouse in New York worth over $3.5 million, a fleet of luxury cars, another mansion worth over $3 million, a private yacht, a private jet. So unless you bring some of these migrants into your many houses, shut up, stick to acting, otherwise you are no longer an officer or a gentleman. As of today, the 3 NGO-sponsored vessels are the German NGO Alan Kurdi, which has travelled off the coast of Libya to its present position off Majorca. The Maison San Francisco-sponsored Norwegian Ocean Viking, which is 50 miles off the coast of Libya, travelling up and down the coast, and the above-mentioned Open Arms vessel 10 miles off Lampedusa. Open Arms has 2 other vessels, one which has been in Lampedusa for the last 25 days, the other still in Barcelona since the beginning of January. And now for some domestic issues. Beef farmers have suspended their 12-day strike outside 14 meat processing plants that had ceased production in an effort to get a better deal over the price of beef in the face of the EU Mercosur deal worth $90 billion. The average dairy farmer in Ireland has 67 cattle, and farms are being pushed to accept a reduction of up to €300 per head in beef. I attended the Google protest yet again this week, and as I turn into Barra Street, I always get a sense of excitement as to what will unfold along the flags dancing in the breeze. On Tuesday I attended and met some of my subscribers, one of which came up from Waterford. It was good-natured as usual, and I made a minor contribution about the stupidity of electric cars. Another man gave an excellent speech on the removal of lead bullets and the checking of guns to make sure that there is no lead residue inside them, and those that have will be confiscated. One objector to the protest made a grab at the banner which he tried to reef out of our hands. It turns out that this individual had done this before, and as he walks by, and this time he hit a woman in the process, who ran off into Barra Street Station. Emmanuel was there also and relayed a story that he had been approached by the guards upon arrival and was asked to give his name and address. I attended on Friday, and Julie read out a brilliant piece she had written and ended with a lovely prayer. The rain came down heavily, and I was reminded of a quote from Alfred Wainwright, who was famous for his walking guides of the Lake District. There is no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothing. A very nice gentleman from Waterford came up and spoke about the problems facing the beef farmers like him and the pressure they are under. Wouldn't it be great if more of the farming community got behind the anti-corruption movement? I spoke briefly about the attack on our free speech and about who controls the narrative. With the Dublin Says No to Hate gathering to take place on Saturday on August the 10th outside Irishtown Garda Station at 2:30 p.m, demanding the end of Gemma's ACI protest, to reinstate her channel, followed by a march to Google. Gemma decided, in the interest of public safety, that all patriots should stay away, with the peaceful protest to continue next week. This I found myself in a bit of a dilemma, to follow out Gemma's wishes or to stand by those who I knew would be going. I decided to attend. After doing a quick scout at Irishtown, I attended. I met one of my colleagues outside Google, and we walked up with a friend of mine to Barrow Street, to chants of Nazi scum off our street. The irony was that those of us protesting outside Google, defending the right to free speech, are defending their right to call us Nazis. I also noted that on the Patriot side, tricolours were held aloft, whereas on the other side, the only flags flown were rainbow flags. Are they ashamed of their country? Do they lack identity? And is their pride only reserved for a lifestyle incapable of reproduction? During the event, a plant from the other side mingled amongst the patriots and at an organised moment gave a Nazi salute before walking away. Through carefully analysis of video footage, this deception was uncovered, but not before it went viral on social media in an attempt to tar those who attend with more appropriate than their fascist behaviour. I will be there again this week. And after writing this today, and before getting a chance to record this video, Gemma and her supporters being threatened and with arrest, and this brings me to a moral dilemma. Would you think less of me if I do not want to get myself arrested? Why was this demonstration left to so few people to attend, considering the number of subscribers that Gemma actually has? Where were you? Some people were there nearly every day, and my contribution was small compared to them, but I did attend at least 3 times a week. While sitting in my car watching the video of Gemma talking to the police, I spotted an old lady sharing an ice cream with a beautiful little girl, and I thought about the battle for that little girl's mind going on all around her. At the bus stop she was sitting at was a poster about racism on public transport, all in big letters, just to remind her and the old lady that they have now become second-class citizens in their own country because only Irish people are racist. Unless we are prepared to call out this garbage for what it is and stop placing people in a special class where they are beyond criticism, we will turn Ireland into a place that will be unlivable both for them and us. And judge me by my integrity. And I'll end with a quote from the Psalms. He who is pregnant with evil and conceives trouble gives birth to disillusionment. Well, thanks for listening. Good night and good luck.